Fire Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters. And it does matter. I say that every week. I'm excited about my guest today, too. We're going to jump into him there in a few seconds. But everything we do off the job matters. And I think it's really a little bit, maybe I've confessed this in the past, maybe I haven't. The Size Up did not start with this concept of what you do off the job matters. When Jeremy asked me to come up with an idea for another podcast, we came up with The Size Up. Some people actually thought the name had something to do with me being short. And I was like, oh, I see that. We didn't even contemplate the short joke into this. But a lot of it was about like your personal size up, how you size up your life, how you size up what it is you do on the job, off the job. Then we took that break during COVID, kind of came back, same type of a concept. And in one of our 8 million conversations, Jeremy and I were talking, and he was like, no, I'm listening to all your guests, and like what they do off the job matters. Like what you do off the job matters, Pip, what I do. And again, Jeremy is a volunteer firefighter, but let's not get into semantics about who's on the job and who's not, or it's just a terminology we use. But what we do outside of being emergency service providers matters. And I look at that in like all the ways possible. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube right now and you were a late 80s, early 90s kid like me, you know the t-shirt I'm wearing, my Yo MTV Raps t-shirt. Come on, man. It was like 3:30, 4 o'clock every day. I was tuning into Yo MTV Raps. Wednesday was the Ed Lover Dance Day. Like, it was what I did. And I still think about those days because it was just something else out there. And sometimes we get so caught up in our careers. And this is even for people who are not in the emergency services. I mean, look at Mrs. Pip and what she does in the palliative care space, nurses, anyone. You can get so wrapped into your career that you don't even realize what's going on around you. And I think my guest today has a pretty cool, I'm going to call it a hobby. I guess it's a hobby outside of the job. And he's like, I've been asking everyone who listens every week knows I ask, hey, if you do something cool off the job, reach out to me and let's get you on this show here. And I met my guest today at the World's Strongest Firefighter. He was a competitor. Lo and behold, though, he has a hobby where he's really into doing cosplay type stuff. And I'm so excited to talk to Dave Dunn Jr. today about just his life and definitely cosplay. We're going to definitely get into that, right, Dave? How are you?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm not bad. I'm always excited. Again, I say this every beginning. I'm excited when I get to talk to someone for an hour. And here, I'll go another behind the curtain. I tell all my guests, you're going to look down and we're only going to be at about 8 minutes or so. And you're going to be like, how do we talk for this long? And the next thing you know, we're at the end of the show. So that makes me feel good about this. I'm hoping you're feeling good about coming on today with me.
Yeah, let's do this.
You did volunteer too. Like you set yourself up for this as well, buddy. There's no like getting out of it now at this point. Like
Well, I'm ready.
and it was funny because I don't even know if this is necessarily why you did it or not, but when I got to participate in the World's Strongest Firefighter on the media team, they introduced me to the room of the competitors. There were probably 120 competitors plus their coaches and random people. And I was just kind of like, hi, I'm Pip. I'm going to be doing some more personal media stuff with you guys. If you want nothing to do with me, just don't come around me when you see me standing there because I will have a camera and a microphone almost the entire time. And I will say that there were definitely some folks that came nowhere near me in the entire show, which is fine. There are some people that ran right up to me immediately afterwards, like, I want to do everything you're doing. And then some other people that kind of warmed up to me throughout the weekend. I don't know, Dave, where did you start off when with me on that aspect?
I was going to try to make my way over, but with the patch and the coin trading and all that, you get really involved in that. So, like the whole meeting and greeting people from around the world, around the country. So, I got real tied up into that. And before I knew it, you were already kind of like clearing out and you were already done. So, I didn't get to like come up and talk, but now we got our chance to.
Yeah, and it's exciting too because I said the same thing at the end. There was like that was the beginning weigh-ins kind of patch trade. Then at the end get together dinner, I said again like anybody that wants to come on the show that has something they want to talk about, reach out to me. And it's been really cool how many people like Dave did kind of reach out or we connected on social media. to talk about these different things. But as we kind of get into the show here, and everybody kind of likes this part of the story too, is like, how did you get into emergency services? Like, what did that path look like for you?
I'm a third generation, so it started with my grandfather, and then my father, and then me. Um, my grandfather was actually in this area. He kind of helped form one of the fire departments around here, which is known as Craig Beach. I'm actually part of the fire department that surrounds that now. It's a village, we're a township. My father retired last year as assistant chief, and that lasted 9 months. And now he's back. So he's just now a
Oh,
fireman. So now he takes the orders from me as the lieutenant. So it's nice. But he's my pump operator and my driver. So,
I thought you were going to say the assistant chief job lasted 9 months. Like, nope, it just wasn't for him, so he retired. Not the
no,
retirement part.
yeah, no, he was assistant chief 5 years, 6 years. But he held every rank. He went from lieutenant to captain. He was assistant chief of another fire department for a while. He was an interim chief when that chief was off, and then when we both came over to this township, he same thing, worked his way through the ranks like, and was assistant chief, and then he was just like, I'm ready to retire, and then he was bored at home, and he was like, I just want to be a fireman, like I want to drive the truck and pump. That's it. So.
We see that a lot too, where, sometimes firefighters, they just can't stop, right? Like, because they're maybe, it's just so in them that they want to go right back into it, right? And I talk about this part a lot for me personally, that I am trying to set myself up so I don't go back into it when I'm done with it.
That's fair. I have a really bad habit. I just want to continue to train. So like I just roll into new things and I'm like, I should really stop. And then I'm like, ooh, or I could do this. And then that's how actually I got my rescue diver last year. I'm like, yeah, that sounds fun. I want to do that. And I've done my high angle rescue that way. And I was a division of forestry for a while for Ohio. So I had a red card for like 6 years because I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. And I just kept doing everything. And just because I'm like, well, I haven't been certified in that yet. So why not? So I do
Let's just go.
hopefully
Let's
hit
give it a
that point
try.
when, yeah, I hope to hit that point of retirement and be like, I've done everything. I'm good.
I'm getting there. Like, I feel like I've done a lot in my career, with certs and classes and jobs and rescues and just different things where I'm like, I don't know if I want to chase it anymore, and it is a high, right? That's a reason we do this job, is we do get a huge high off of what it is we do.
That's true. It is, especially when you get into a good like job town. Like if you get into a good burner, I mean, the adrenaline spike, there's nothing compared. Like 10 years ago, I jumped out of an airplane and I was like, not like being into a house fire.
I've never heard anyone say that before. They jumped out of an airplane and they're like, I'd rather do the house fire thing.
Exactly. Like your mind is so like your adrenaline pump, especially if you have entrapment. If you have entrapment, your adrenaline levels through the roof because now you're like, I gotta go, I gotta go, I gotta go. But like you jump out of an airplane and it was fun for the free fall. Like I fell for 30 seconds and I was like, ooh. And then the after the parachute, you're like, oh, that's cool. I like landed and I was like, that was fun.
Well, and not to take anything away from folks who jump out of airplanes, right? It is something on my list of things that I eventually want to do. But what I feel like too, with the adrenaline rush we get as firefighters, is that, yeah, you get that huge adrenaline spike, but you also have to be able to think and calm yourself to do the right things. Because, yes, it looks like we're just running around wild on these scenes, but we're not. There is technique and strategy and tactics that are all getting deployed so fast. And that's what I feel for me is the best part of this career at this point, for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's the thinking outside the box is always a fun job. Like I feel like when we go into a house fire, that's where I specialize. Like That's why I've never really moved up from lieutenant because I always want to be the guy inside. I want to be the guy training the next generation. Like I don't want to move up the ranks. I want to still be that guy, 70 years old, like let's go in. Like I still want to be training those people because that's what I love to do. So like, but I have that skill when I go inside of a house. I'm like, all right, we can feel for this. Like I can keep myself calm, but I can think outside the box while I do it.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's this outside the box thinking because no two houses are alike. Nothing. We do have some standard things, and some things about different building types, and they're all running through your head as to what can happen. But everything is happening around you, and I love that, like that thinking job of it. It's also part of the what I like about the tech rescue end of it too, like being able to disassemble a car or take it apart around a patient, or something along those lines, where you're thinking. It's the same thing about being a paramedic. Like, I love that I have to rapidly assess you, treat you, and get you someplace else. And my goal was always to do it as fast as possible because I didn't want to be hanging around for a long time. But that thinking process is what keeps me going. So trying to figure out what I'm going to do to replace that in retirement is always interesting.
Well, then that's why you need to do my hobby. You get into cosplay, man.
Don't know if I can. All right, we're going to jump into cosplay then. We're going right into it. This was not the plan necessarily, but that's all right. I love it. Right? I love all can is like so I asked this question at the strongman competition. Is it strongman, strong woman? Is it just strongman? I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And everybody was like, just call it strongman. You'll be fine. Cool. Can I say this is a really geeky hobby? Is that how everybody thinks it is, right? In a way?
I guess it just depends. I mean, yeah, some do. Uh, but for me, it's my escape from reality. So, like you were talking, and like being a medic, in this field, we see a lot of things. So, for an example, every year during Labor Day weekend, there's a big convention in Atlanta. It's called Dragon Con. It's like if you took Mardi Gras and you took Comic Con and you put it together. It's just nonstop.
Oh,
Like everybody brings their big things. So for that week that I'm there, I don't have to be a lieutenant. I don't have to be a fireman. I don't have to be like I get to just be a character that I dressed up as, and I'm making kids happy. Like kids see, like as you saw on my Facebook and Instagram, you saw my Master Chief, huge hit. People love Master Chief. So for that time period, I don't have to be the person with all the responsibility. I'm just a guy who's living the dream as Master Chief or Darth Maul or um, whatever I've done.
I wrote all these names down so I didn't get them wrong. You're just calling them out, but I love that, right? Because I do love that thought of you can be someone else, right? You can escape from this reality that we created. Not that you're doing it to escape your reality because you're fine with what it is your life is, but you get a time to kind of step out of the box and be under that mask, just having a good time, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
do you
plus
make the costumes? I'm
uh
just getting there.
yeah, it's mixed depending on the time. My wife, she's helped a lot make because she's great at sewing, so she sews a lot of the stuff for me. But the Master Chief was a full 3D print file, so from head to toe, that was fully 3D printed. So I had the time of gluing and painting and sanding and getting it to form to my body. So like heating the plastic to fit around my chest and so, yeah, a lot of them I've built. Actually, my very first ever was Winter Soldier. We built the arm completely out of foam, threw a wig on, could be bald, and just made the whole like Winter Soldier look. So, and that's where it kind of like spiraled. Like we went to a con in Philadelphia. It was a huge hit. The amount of people that were just like taking photos, and I was like, wow, this is nice. Like that whole day I was there, I didn't think about anything except like just having a good time. So that's what kind of opened my world to cosplaying and looking into different characters and like what fits me. Like, so that's where my handle came from, Strong Ball. I'm like, well, I'm bald, so
Oh my
let's
God.
start ball this up.
I was so thinking it had to do with a tool, like the mall, like nothing. And I've seen your Darth Maul. Now I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, what kind of an idiot am I? Like, how did I not put this together? Well, it's so cool the way you're talking about this, and I'm already starting to see it in a different light for people like in the emergency services. And so, were you like a comic book guy, like a video game guy? Like, how did it kind of spur into this world of, hey, let's dress up as Master Chief or Winter
Uh,
Soldier?
yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I always enjoyed the comics, and then, you always had your cartoons, especially 90s cartoons. They were the best. Uh, and then video games, of course. So then it all spiraled, and then it wasn't until later in life after uh, I've been cosplaying. I think we're on our 12th year, going on maybe 13. So like I was a little late to the party, but once I did my first one, it was kind of like an itch, kind of like, waiting for your next fire kind of. And then it just really got me going. I'm like, oh, well, what can I build next? And that's how I just kind of kept growing. I was just like, well, what could I do that's bigger and then bigger? And then Master Chief just ended up being my biggest build ever. I was like, I always wanted to do one big cosplay. And finally last year I broke down. I was like, all right, I'm going to do Master Chief. So
I mean,
that's ended up how I ended.
he is Master Chief is, I mean, I am a Halo geek from like pre-career firefighting days. I lived with a bunch of other guys and we played Halo from, the end of an EMS shift almost until the next EMS shift started type of a thing. And it was
Nice.
really cool when my older son, Finn, I don't know, let's say he was like 4 or 5 or so, I broke out the old Xbox. And it's like one of my favorite memories on Facebook when it appears is us, me teaching him how to play Halo again, like all over again to bring it back.
That's yeah, I don't really get to have that wonderful story, unfortunately, but uh, I really fell in love with the show. That's what really inspired my like, oh, I know it got a bad rap. A lot of people didn't like the series and stuff, but I really enjoyed it for what it was. And then I was like, I think I could do this. Like, given doing strongman training and everything, I'm like, I'm pretty strong. I'm pretty big. Like, if I threw up some body armor on, and so yeah, Master Chief was a lot of fun. It was a huge hit last year. I got some things I still have to work on with the suit. It's got some tweaks. It's still kind of hard to walk in being 3D printed. So, like, I got to work on that over the year to make it a little more functional. But it was one of my bigger ones. Darth Maul is always my biggest one. Everybody loves Darth Maul. I get it from adults to kids, every which way possible. You walk in a room as Darth Maul, you're like, oh, hey. People come running over, photos nonstop. So I've actually got to meet Ray Park. So I did do my full Darth Maul as Ray Park, and it was a huge hit with him.
Like, and to think like when I think of that again, I'm gonna go back to that like escape from your reality, like you throw on a mask and you get to be someone else. And also going to like a Dragon Con. So back in oh God, man, you got me dating myself here. Back in high school, I was really into comic books. So I went to Comic Con, but even then that was, mid 90s and it was really before cosplay, I think, was big. There were people dressed up there, but not as many as you see today, where it's a huge thing. But to think about being able to kind of do that, to put on a mask and just not even not have anybody know who I am, not that I'm anyone important or special or anything like that, and just be that character for the day, that feeling alone has got to be epic, right?
Oh yeah. It's not really like a high, it's just an enjoyment. It's a lot it's just it's hard to explain. Um, like depending on the costume and who you are, it gets a different reactions too. So like uh I do Shao Kahn. So that's a huge hit. Everybody loves Shao Kahn. So it depends on the
What's
character
that?
and the day. Shao Kahn. So like I'll do my Shao
Yeah.
Kahn and that'll get a lot of big hits. It just depends on what you do. Uh but I don't know. It's a
So help
weird
me out. I don't
feeling.
know who's Shao Kahn. I don't know who that is, or
Oh,
maybe
okay.
I'm not putting a name to a face.
He's from Mortal Kombat, so he's the big
Okay,
emperor.
I've seen that one.
Yeah. So, with the new movie coming out this year, cosplaying it should be a really big hit because they have the new movie coming out. So, I'll probably rock that a couple times at cons this year.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it too, right? You get to kind of pick who you want. Like I'm thinking now, like I've seen your House of Dragons characters, and I'm like, well, I really do like Tyrion Lannister a lot. Like one of the jokes, I mean, it's obviously, my height work plays into Tyrion Lannister a bit in that role. But like I do really like him. Like, I mean, that's what he says, like I drink and I know things. Like that's what I do. I drink and I know things. Like it's very obvious. But getting to pick that character and then develop the costume around it and then go be them for the day at whatever you're doing, and then now tying it into the latest movie, of course he's going to be popular.
Right. Yeah, House of Dragon was fun. It was that's more of that so that whole cosplay was Aegon the Conqueror. So we had to find lucky enough we had a friend who was interested in playing the second wife and she was all down for it. So we actually have a friend that lives in Maryland who does a lot of cosplay. So she was like, "Yeah, let's do this." So we had a lot of FaceTiming like trying to figure out costumes and how we were gonna like coordinate and everything like that, and that's how that came about actually.
So everybody wasn't totally related, or like you don't actually have two wives. That was just for the day.
That was just for the day. Nah, yeah. I did have a we did but we found a photographer there. He does our Mortal Kombat shoot actually down at Dragon Con. And I was like, "Hey, so we're doing this cosplay of, from Game of Thrones and we're like, can we make this like a wedding photo shoot?" So that's how our photos came about. And he was like, "Yeah, that sounds fun." So we just made like a whole wedding shoot out of it. And it was fun for the reactions because I was like, I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. And I was just like, I'm going to post this and see what happens.
See, like I don't know if I have the balls to do that, man. Like I just don't know if I like that is it's and it's not ballsy, right? It's just going out and having a good time and putting it on social media. Why am I like nervous about doing something like that? I have no clue, but it was epic to see those pics.
Like, yeah. I mean, I got a couple questions later, like, so you want to talk about that? I'm like, nah, no, we're good. Just let
See, I
people
would
have
be
their
like,
own.
yeah. I would also see I can't be that guy to just let people have their own. I'd be like, yeah, of course we got married. I got two wives now. Like I gotta fill out my pension paperwork and change it. Like I don't know if that's legal in New Jersey, but I'll figure it all out. Like always keep them guessing, right?
Right, exactly. That's why I just kind of left it. I'm like, yeah, let them have their own thoughts.
And then too, like when you're going to Dragon Con, it's like you're with it's almost like the strongman competition. Like you're with your people, right? Like everyone there is enjoying this the same way. So that alone has got to be a high for itself.
Oh, 100%. I've made so many new friends just like at the World's Strongest Fireman. I mean, I made a whole bunch of new friends from that competition. And Dragon Con's the same way. And you meet people from around the world there too, because it's such a big weekend. Like last year, they brought in 75,000 people. So I've got friends that live in Colorado, Maryland, the Carolinas, like all around that I've got to meet. So it does go hand in hand with strongman and meeting like people from the world's strongest firemen and being friends and staying in contact. So that's the thing that makes my life kind of similar. I have those two things that I enjoy. I love doing strongman and I love cosplaying. So to make new friends out of both those things is a wonderful experience for me.
All right, so is there like, a strongman cosplayer out there that's not strong ball? Like, have you had that crossover yet or no?
I've seen some people. I think it is on my Instagram that I did show up to my gym as Darth Maul and I just did my like bench squat deadlift just to do a video of it. So there are a couple people out there. They're usually not like not real big strongman people, more they're like the bodybuilders. You see a lot of bodybuilders cosplay.
And again, too, it's sort of a way they can make some extra cash, I would imagine, too, is like cosplaying someone like a Conan or something for people taking pictures or working a booth at a trade show or something like that. I think that's another thing I know I've seen a bit of.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the money maker. I just do it for the excitement. Like that's the nice thing is Dragon Con is you have people that are like you would be great down there for like doing all your recording and everything. There's camera people from all around that come, just a video for the weekend. Photographers from all around. Like our photographer comes from Portland, I think he flies out to from. So like there are YouTube people, there are uh the camera crews, the photographers, everything. They just spend the whole weekend videotaping and taking photos to help promote their business.
Yeah, and it's definitely so. First off, I really appreciate that you think I'm like a real media guy because you saw me holding a camera that weekend with Lance, who was like the real media guy, and I was his like mild mannered assistant. Let's call myself. But that is something too that like I'm exploring with this. So now you're telling me this, and I'm like, God, I could take the show on the road and go down to Dragon Con and be like, Hey, Master Chief, what do you do for a real job? Like be like, oh, I'm a lawyer or I'm an accountant or whatever it is, the people that you're talking to. And it's again, they're all there almost for the same reason, for that kind of escape. I don't want to call it an escape from reality, but just to be able to have fun and enjoy yourself in a different way. Is that a good way to describe it?
Oh, 100%. That would be the best way to explain it. And I have ran into other firemen, other paramedics, police officers. Um, the one guy, the one year, he was dressed as full Wolverine. And we were talking, and we're like, yeah, about being a fireman in Ohio. He's like, oh, well, I'm a police officer in Florida. And that was his way. He's like, dude, the stuff we see on the job and everything. He goes, I just come here. He goes, I just get to be fun for the week. I don't have to worry about the seriousness of the job. I just get to have fun. So you would run into a bunch of probably first responders down there. It is like not, I wouldn't say a big world, but it's out there that we do dress up and we just have to do our own thing.
Oh, Mrs. Pip's not going to like you, Dave Dunn Jr., because you're already putting ideas in my head. And she's going to be like, what? We're going where? Be like, we're going. It's going to be awesome. And you're going to love it.
Oh, 100%. Just use my Instagram. Just start scrolling through and or be like, look, this is what we can do. Like,
Yeah.
or just get on YouTube and look up just Dragon Con. And you'll be like, look, this is why we're going, honey. This is why we got to go. And then,
This
you're
is it.
going to go,
So my younger son Declan, he's really into more of like Pokemon, and he plays Dungeons and Dragons. And he's more into that kind of fantasy world end of it, where my older son is more like me and into like Marvel and Star Wars and that kind of stuff. Like I do have my own kind of geekiness, for lack of a better term, where it is. But my younger son wants to go to any con we can take him to. So we've been looking around. I mean, we're in New Jersey. We can get to New York or Philly easy, just because he knows all that kind of stuff. He would be an expert at it all.
uh, this one it would please both then because it has everything. I mean, everything. We once saw it was like our second or third year there. There was this little girl, and she had full controlling Auto Octavius arms because her dad was an engineer and built them for her. And this girl was only
Oh.
maybe like 6 or 7 years old, and the dad's remote controlling her arms behind her. And it was just like, oh, your dad's an engineer. And he was just bored.
Which is epic to watch a little kid coming at you with these arms from behind him. Look, my camera's going crazy because I'm doing Auto Octavius arms here. But like all that stuff, I'm just, and even prepping for this interview a little bit, I was like, man, I wonder what really is behind all this. Like, does he just like to dress up? Does he like to do this? Does he like to do that? But the more you're talking, the more I'm really seeing how stepping out of not just your comfort zone, but like just stepping out of your own reality has to feel for the things that we deal with on the job.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the one thing like this job. If you don't find something that you have enjoyment, if playing basketball, doing strongman, or doing cosplay, this job will eat you up. I mean, we can't sit there and just go home and just be like, yeah, I had a bad day, and then you're just like, all right, well, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Like, if you don't find something, it will eat you up. And I think that's the problem still in the fire and police and EMS is we don't talk enough about it to get us out. Like, we need to stop being like, oh, yeah, that bad call. Well, let me just go bury it and I'll just go to work tomorrow. Like, if you don't find something that you enjoy, it's going to eat us up. So that's
And
why
that's it,
I like
right?
doing.
It's good. it's that end of it that, like, you just said it right there. Like, you find something outside of it, because what we do a lot of is we bury ourselves in our work and we use it in the excuse like we talked about before. Like, oh, I like tech rescue, so let me go get a tech rescue cert. So you have this bad call on a Wednesday, but you already know your weekend is going to be getting your tech rescue cert, right? So you're still in the fire service. You're not getting out of it at all, or whatever that is, and you may be talking about it. You're talking about it to other emergency services responders, and that only lasts so long. But when you find these things outside of what it is we do, like you did with cosplay, that's a totally different world, man. And you can lie when you're dressed as Master Chief and they're like, "Oh, what do you do for a living?" You could be like, "I'm a school bus driver." Nobody knows and nobody really cares what it is you do, right? You could totally not tell them. That's up to you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm always honest. Like people always ask, like, "Oh, well, what do you do for your real?" And I'm like, "Oh, fireman, lieutenant, things like that." So, um, but strongman has been a great thing, and I'm glad I found the world's strongest fireman. I didn't know about it till 3 years ago when I just happened to be at the Arnold and I was talking at the booth and I got to see them competing on Friday and I was like, oh wow. I mean, I was still early in the strongman too. So then to actually come last year and compete for the first time, and just the few people that I met and stay in contact with over Instagram and stuff, I was like, oh wow, this is nice. That's why I was so excited to come back this year to compete with everybody, just because I got to see familiar faces and I made new friends out of it, and it's just expanding. And with buying it now, this year really felt also like we were competing on a world stage on Friday. Like last year, it just felt like your typical, hey, I'm going to do a strongman event. And you went to the Arnold. Yeah, you were at the Arnold, but it still was like, oh, but the way they had this year set up with the Titantron and everybody's name and streaming Friday, like I had so many people back around my area who got to watch me compete. And it just, even for us who didn't make it to day two, Friday at least gave us that. Like the way this year was like, wow. Like I'm on the big stage. Like even though I'm not on the main stage, it gave us that feeling. And I think that's why everybody this year really had an A game out there because you felt like you were part of something.
I mean, you definitely were, right? And knowing everyone that was on that main stage on Saturday, I think they all said like Friday was still the better of the days for them because they got to do it with so many more of you, right? And have that experience in that little corner. So for the folks I mean, I've talked about it a decent amount in these past few weeks, but the world's strongest firefighter this year, they expanded under Strongman Corp, and they were able to, for the Friday competition, do a live streaming event so anyone can watch around the world by tuning in online, which was great for the competitors because, again, all these folks are getting themselves there on their own dime. So they can't bring a cheering section from their department with them, from wherever they are, whether they were international or from the United States somewhere. Dave is not too far away from Columbus because I think you had the largest cheering section, if I had to guess.
What's that? You were
I
broken
think you
up
had
on that last.
the largest cheering section, if I had to guess.
Uh, I might have, yeah. I had quite a few that came down, and that's a huge thing. Like when you come around the curtain, and you see everybody that's there supporting you, that is a plus. Like that's an extra like percentage in your lift. Like I think some of my lift, if it wasn't like the change into Husafel, for example, we all were all told we were using steel, and then we went to this bag, and we're like, oh, uh, like I never trained for that bag, but knowing that my group of people were there and they were yelling and screaming, that gave me that extra boost that I'm like, all right, I can do this. And I fought and got what I got for steps, but I think if I didn't have a big crowd or people there to support me, I don't know if I would have budged the bag off.
No, you would have punched them. But your crowd definitely helped because I think that's actually when I was videoing them from behind. I have to. I'm still editing or looking through footage to even start editing all the things that I have. But that Husafel change has been talked about now a few times. That's the most firefighting thing I've ever seen in my life. Because hey, we're always prepared for A, and we get there and it's freaking Z no matter what. And that's what happened that day in that competition, right?
100%. Yeah. At the rules meeting, they're like, well, by the way, you're going to go to this bag. And then I even like took a picture and I sent it to my coach, and he's like, "Oh, you're fine. It's the same size as the Husafell you've been training with." And we didn't know it was the UK Cerberus bags that are even 10 times bigger than a regular Husafell bag. And I was like, "Oh, this isn't it. This is not it at all." So, but I think everybody went out and gave their best on that bag, and it's nice that even when that's the other nice thing about strongman and that comp. People who were fighting to get that bag, whoever failed went over and was still supporting the guy who was still moving. Like, come on, man, finish that bag. Let's go, let's go. So you have that team morale. Nobody's there. Like I came from powerlifting, and I don't miss it. Like 100%. Powerlifting's so cutthroat. People aren't there to help you. Where a strongman, everybody's supportive. Like, oh, man, I can't find my belt. Here's mine. Use it. Go out, get your win. So that's the nice thing about strongman, and I think the strongest fireman. We're all brothers and sisters there, but now we all have a sport we like too, and we're all supporting each other.
This theme is so common with everybody who's been on the podcast. Frank, Harry, Noah, John, all the way back to Marcus and Stephanie, of that community. And I got to witness it, right? And I've been involved in a lot of firefighter fitness things. And I have seen, there is a little bit of a difference when you put the whole firefighter thing in to play because, hey, man, we're all out here doing the same types of jobs and things. But in that strongman community, it was amazing the level of instruction. I was learning how to lift a Husafeld that I've never even lifted before just by videoing people teaching other people. And they could care less. It was such an amazing experience.
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't trade it. I'm already looking forward to being back next year. Hopefully next year we get a few more people. I feel like just the few people that I've seen like my TikTok videos or my Instagram, I've had some people reach out like, "Oh man, I didn't know we could do this." And it's like, "Yeah, just sign up, go out, give it your best." So hopefully next year gets bigger.
Well,
I'd like to see more competitors.
I mean, as a media guy myself, if you were out there as Darth Maul, I'm sure more people would be watching. So, or Master Chief, or anybody you want to Aegon with two wives cheering him on. Like, I feel like that could do a lot of good for folks. So, just throwing it out there, just me.
All right. Well, with that being said, I have at a couple of my comps, I have done Kratos. So maybe next year I'll bust out the Kratos paint. I'll like fully paint my face Kratos, put the line on. So I was
Look, if
kind of
there's a
thinking about
place to do it, it's the Arnold.
right. I even threw that idea around this year. I was like, oh, I should take the red paint. Let's do it. We'll just paint my face and we'll do the Kratos. And just for some reason, being my second year, I actually got more nervous this year than I did last year. So that
Of
kind of like
course.
threw a little wrench into things because I was like, man, why am I so nervous? But like going into prep last year into this year, it was like real serious. Like last year, I just went out and I'm like, I'm gonna send it. What I get, I get. And like this year, I was like, all right, I put like 18 months of work into this. Like I know it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have a good time, but like the nerves this year was like, did I do enough? Did I have enough prep time? Did I push myself hard enough during training? So those were like all the questions I was asking myself going into that day. But then once you get the first event out, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm good. So, but next year I'll definitely go full Kratos for everybody. I'll put the red paint on. We'll make it happen next year.
Heard it here first on the Size Up. Breaking news for next year's World's Strongest Firefighter, right there. I get that feeling too. Your first year, and I can compare it to promotional examinations, which I'm in the process of about to take one again now, where like you almost when you do it more, you get more nervous. The more time you put into the prep, you're like, did I do enough? Like where when you just want to go and send it, you're like, I'll just go and send it. Like if not, it's like, did I study enough? That one day I didn't study, did that ruin me or not? And I feel like maybe that's where your head could have been this year with the competitions.
Yeah, I even get like that when I built my cosplays. Like I get real detailed and I'm like, oh, is somebody gonna nitpick this because like I don't have enough battle damage on my armor, or is my paint lines not right? Lucky enough, my wife is the one who does paint my whole Darth Maul for me, and she has got it down to perfection. So like, I don't ever question that. I know like when she goes into it, it's perfect. But like Master Chief, Shao Kahn, Scorpion, all my different ones I've done, I'm like, oh, am I missing this little detail? Am I missing that? So like when I go to first time throw it on, I get real nervous. And she's always like, you did your best. Nobody's going to question it. But I'm like, inside my head, I'm like, yeah, but there should be like battle damage right here because he took a blast, or maybe this should be torn, or you know, do I have enough swords? Do I have enough weapons? Like, am I missing that? Is my belt right? So I get that like
I'm not laughing at you, Dave. I'm laughing with you. Like, please, because in my head, this is me and my wife yelling at me, like, "What are you talking about battle damage? Who's gonna notice? What do you mean it doesn't have the? Look at what it looks like. Look what you did. I'm right there with you in my own head. It's some of the worst places we can be, right?
yes. And I think that comes from our job because we always question things. We get a bad accident. What's the next thing we do? Oh, my extrication was 15 minutes. Well, that should have been like 8 minutes. I should have been better. Well, now for the next month, I'm going to drill myself in that extrication. I'm going to recut this car over and over and over again because it should have been faster. We always put our details into that. We saved a room and contents, or it got out of the room. Oh, well, it should have just been isolated to the room. Where did I make my mistake at? So I think we do that even in our job, and that's probably what carries over like into our lifting is like, oh, was my prep good enough? Did I train hard enough? Did I is is this cosplay good enough? Because I don't know if I put the detail in it enough. Maybe I should go back and look at the beginning, like, oh, okay, I did this, but did I do that? So I think that helps make things better, but I think it makes things rough for us at the same time.
Well, it's like we talked about a little bit off the air, right? It's the understanding that that's what we're thinking about, because it's the same as I feel, and you used extrication as a kind of vehicle here to get to there, but like you'll be on an extrication scene and be like, finish, be like, oh my God, that took forever. I can't believe we were so slow. How did that happen? And then you get back and you get the timestamps in the dispatch report, and it says like you arrived, and then 19 minutes later is patient extricated. And I'm like, 19 minutes? That felt like it took an hour and a half, but it was only 19 minutes. That was fine. And it's that in your head kind of thought that it's really hard to get around, but the realization of it definitely helps me.
Right. My most recent one, I mean, yeah, we had from on scene to patient out was 11 minutes, but I've been sitting there like, yeah, I get it's 11 minutes, but I could have probably done that in 8 or 7. So that's faster that they're in the bus. That's faster they're getting care. So now, like, I'm questioning my ability, even though everybody's like, dude, you did it in 11 minutes. Like, you're great when it comes to this stuff. You know how to do it. I've watched you cut a car up in less than 15 minutes from a roof removal and a doors off, and you're still sitting there questioning yourself. But I think that's what happens in this job. Our best is still never the best. So that's when it comes to cosplaying, I'm like, yeah, my Master Chief looks good, but can it be better? Can I put more lights in? Can I
Well,
put more like making a high powered magnet so my rifle sticks to my back? So it's like or my handgun will stick to my thigh. I
I was
want
gonna
better
ask,
detail.
can, can you make the glowing pink orb to stick to your back, the sticky grenade? That was my favorite part of playing, is sticking grenades to people's heads and things.
I would love to. Like one of my early ones, I did Captain America, and that was my biggest thing. Is when I did the shoulder straps, I took like the most powerful Earth magnet and stuck it on my back of my harness, so that when I took my shield off, I could just clip it right on my back, just like you did in the movie. But I'm like, that detail matters. Like if you're walking around and you're like, oh, let's do this, and then you take it off and you swing and it just sticks to it. People are like, oh, wow, that's cool. So like attention to detail is a big thing for me.
I'm totally there for it, man. I want to hear it go thump when you slam it on your back, just like he does in the movie. Like, I'm there for it. This is a problem for me. I can't go down this road. I can't get too serious with this. I can't take on another thing, but I kind of want to go now, and I kind of want to do all this because of that. it's just that escape, right? And again, this is my escape, talking to you and going to things and like the world's strongest firefighter and meeting different people. Like, yeah, granted, I've been through the firefighter fitness world, and this definitely is a tie into that. But you guys were also well, and girls were also welcoming to me that it was unreal. Like, I loved every minute of it. And maybe I'm lifting heavier again and I'm back to doing some deadlifts and some squats that I kind of got away from for a while, which is another good thing because that's another escape from the things we do at work that works for us.
Oh, 100%. Anything that betters us outside of our job is a plus. That's how I look at it. I'm very fortunate that cosplaying, I have a wife who loves to cosplay with me. So we get to do everything together. It's not like this is just my thing. So, like, when I dress as a character, she dresses as a character with me. And we get to do that whole couples thing. And it helps with everything because I'm like, oh, I get to do this with my wife. And we get to go and do all these cons and go down for that week and just get away. And it's just us. So that's a benefit too.
Yeah, and that's a huge benefit too. And I don't spend enough time on this show talking about it. I mean, I do a little bit with my guests, but you brought that up too of like being able to do something with your wife that you both enjoy doing together, right? And it really sounds like you just kind of stumbled upon this whole thing. Is that kind of how it happened for the both of you in a way?
Yeah, kind of. We went to actually it was Philadelphia Con, so not too far from you. Was one of our first ones, and like I said, I did the Winter Soldier, and she just ended up doing one of the USA military girls from the first Captain America. So, and that we just kind of grew from there. We're like, oh, well, let's do this. So we did Cyclops and Emma Frost from X-Men, and we've just done different things throughout the years. So, yeah, we kind of stumbled across it, but like kudos to Marcus and Stephanie. They have that together. They get to compete at the world's strongest together, but they train together, and I think that's a great thing for the two of them. So and my wife is into strongman, so I get to enjoy that with her as well. She got to go to U.S. Nationals last year, so we went out to Denver. I got to be the coach for her. So I have a lot of things that I'm fortunate that my wife and I do together.
And it's awesome because it's such an important thing. And as you're saying that, I'm like, well, we've done a lot of the play on like the short tall thing because my wife is a bit taller than me. Like this year for Halloween, I was Squints and she was Wendy Peppercorn from the Sandlot, um, which was fun. And now I'm like, God, maybe we do this. But now I'm just like, well, I guess she could be Cersei Lannister and I could be Tyrion, and we're in. Like it's right there, like literally for us for the taking to do that.
100%. Like you have some good options for being like that.
Yeah, like that. Oh, I like you could say short. It's all right, man. We've hung out. You can
I
be like
meant the two.
vertically challenged, tiny, like whatever you want to say. Go ahead. It's all right, man. It's all good.
That's not what I meant. Like that you two have that option. That's what I meant. I didn't mean
Yeah,
it.
I know you're a firefighter. I know exactly. I've heard it all, man. Especially hanging around all these monsters at the world's strongest firefighter competition, where it was just like, yeah, let's go. Like, yes, I need the ladder to get the thing off the top shelf. All of it. I get it. You guys have fun. It's good. But no, I think the fact that you guys have that together, that really helps because we do see a lot of marital issues in the emergency services field. And a lot of that is because I think couples don't have other things together, and I'm thinking she probably realizes how important strongman and cosplay is to you for your own, stability.
Yeah, 100%. Like she's fully my rock. Like I'm glad I have her, and she's so supportive of everything I do, and I'm very lucky to have that.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I say the same thing about Tracy. Like, I would not be doing this show. I don't know what I would be doing if it wasn't for her for all these years that she's kind of been the other end of this, and me for her as well because of working in the ER and all the different things that she does. But that's such an important part of it, and I love that you guys are there for each other on both those things, just to get you out of there, so or out of your own headspace. But what's next? When's Dragon Con? When's the next cosplay? I don't even care about Strongman anymore. Let's get into it.
Uh Dragon Con is always Labor Day weekend. So every year it's always that weekend, guaranteed. It doesn't, there is no like, oh, it's, this month. It's always Labor Day weekend. And that's where it always is. So that's probably going to be our next one with everything we have going on right now. We're trying to buy a house and go through all that fun stuff. So it's definitely Dragon Con is going to probably be the one con this year that I do. So
Well,
we'll
Labor Day
see what.
weekend. Maybe I'll be there.
Yeah, man, we'll go come down, have some fun, get some drinks. There's all kinds of uh the guy comes out at like 3 in the morning and he has like a hot dog stand and he just has these big giant hot dogs at like 3 o'clock in the morning when you're like been drinking all day and they're like hot dogs and you're like, yeah, that's what I want.
Bro, we're gonna ask this question in the size of 10. Man. I'm 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Like I want to be in bed by 10 o'clock at night on a good night, not even like any other night, like 3 a.m. Holy cow!
Yeah, there's so much that happens. So like there's it's a whole thing to go into that we don't have the time for. But uh there's like other fun things you can do though. The aquarium shuts down, so you can go to the Atlanta aquarium. They turn into like it's called like the night of Dragon Con. So we all always go there on Saturday nights. You get to walk through the aquarium. Everybody's dressed up. They where they usually have the weddings, that becomes like a big like DJ room. So that's like the VIP. So you got open bar, dance floor, the whole works in there. And then, but you can still leave, walk around the aquarium. You get to see all the animals and stuff like that. So the whole weekend just has all kinds of things going on. And they also bring celebrities in. So there's the whole meet and greet. Like they have a whole ballroom that's just got all different kinds of celebrities there. They do like a big Q&As. There's big D&D rooms that people just go in and they're playing all kinds of stuff. Uh, Warhammer, I know there's a bunch of Warhammer happens down there. So the whole weekend is nothing but events. There's you can branch off, you can go to the vendor hall that's like 6 floors of stuff. So it's not just people dressed up. There's all kinds of things you can do all weekend.
Oh my God, this is a whole new. See, no, I can't do this. I promised her when I did this show that I wasn't going to be like everything my guests did. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. Now I'm like, we should do this. This will be fun. This will be a fun conversation tonight at dinner. Appreciate you, Dave. This is going to be a good
Yeah.
one. Like,
Message message me later. Let me know how that goes.
yeah, yeah. I may need a couch to crash on in Ohio if you got room in your new
Oh,
house.
I got room. You'll be good.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man. Love it. Love it. See, this is the kind of bonds you make when you meet different people. And we talk about that too on this show a lot is getting out there, right? Like the world's strongest firefighter, going to driving and meeting other people. It doesn't always have to be a fire service related event. It can be something else where you're going to probably, we all gravitate. I don't know about you, but wherever I am, I end up meeting a cop, a fireman, or a paramedic. There's just no, like, we gravitate towards each other without even knowing it. I mean, granted, we can pick each other out of a crowd, but even I try to avoid that person and I still somehow meet one.
Yeah, I really have that skill. Like, my wife always she always jokes with me. Like, I can start a conversation with anybody. I'll just walk up and be like, hey, what's going on? And next thing you know, they're following me on one of the socials, and then I meet up with them next year. And it was just like, you just talked to that guy for like 5 minutes, and now your guys, and I'm like, yeah, it's just a gift, I guess.
This is what it is, man. I am that person as well. That's for sure. Hence all these other things that I do. But where can the folks, you kind of threw your social media handle out there before, but where can anybody listening find you to learn more about your cosplay? And if they're interested in cosplay or anything like that, or strongman for that matter,
Most of the time, you can find all my stuff either on Instagram or TikTok under Strong Mall. That's my
and that'll
handle.
be obviously in the show notes as well for there. But Strong Molly does have some cool pictures, and I know we're getting up to the wrap, but he does have a picture, and I think it's you cosplaying as the dude from Mortal Kombat. But it's your kind of progress picture, like what 18 months of hard work looks like. Is that true? Am I getting that one right that I saw?
Yeah, that was like the year before, and then what all my hard work going in and how I changed. Just seeing those that you especially using cosplay to compare my old self to my new self, and there's a lot of things that happened over the year too that really helped me find myself in a better place. So that's a nice comparison photo of like that was me at like 225, almost going 230 versus cutting down to be in the 198 class and realizing like, wow, I look bigger, but I'm more healthier. And so that's one thing I really like about that photo is I made a lot of change from last year's competition to this year's competition, both
No, you can
physically
see
and
it in the
mentally.
photo for sure. You could see it in the photo, but hearing you say that too and being healthier, right? Because at times people always think like it's just about cutting down the weight, but it's not about cutting down the weight. It's how healthy you are and making all those other changes inside of you when you make these physical appearing changes.
100%. And that's like a nice reminder. I was like, wow, I was bulky, but I wasn't like a good bulk. I wasn't like a healthy bulk. I was so tired and sluggish. Now I've lost all that weight, but I look better. I look healthier. I look stronger. I am physically better, but even mentally, I feel better.
Oh, I love it, man. I love to hear those stories too. Like that just, and I've heard so many of them, but I didn't even know I was going down that road at the end here by saying that. And hearing you say it is just so exciting. And for folks out there, definitely follow Dave because, that journey was there and you can see it in that picture alone. And then all the things we've talked about here. So awesome stuff, man. Are you ready for the size up 10?
Yeah, let's do it.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
See, I was thinking you were a mountain guy. I always get it wrong. One day I'll get it
Uh,
right.
uh, Beach because now I've got a love for water. Getting my dive rescue has kind of opened my world to water a little more. Used to be kind of afraid of it,
Gotcha.
just because I didn't know about the what was with me. And now getting my diver and everything, I'm like, okay, I'm open to this now. So,
Nice. So I go with I changed this one a little bit for the guest, but do you like a night out or a night in or a nice afternoon out, let's say?
well, that all just depends on what happened. I mean, I'd say more of a kind of a night in.
Night in type of person? I'll take it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a very good question for you. How about a movie everyone needs to see?
Oh, that's a tough question because I'm a movie guy. Uh, I don't know.
You can't say
Uh,
you're a movie guy and then say I don't know. Like there's got to be
because there's
one that
so
like you just know.
well, if we're
What's
gonna
your
go like
go-to? Like you can go whatever any genre you want. The world is your oyster.
all right, well, if I'm gonna go with any movie, I always have to fall back on Twister.
There's cows. We got cows.
Yes, I like that's my number one fallback. Like if I want something to toss on, I'm just gonna throw Twister on. It's I can quote that movie. Like I'll go with that one.
It's not a bad movie. It's definitely not a bad movie. If it's on, I'm watching it. Is that a good way to put it? Like, it's a good one.
Yeah, it holds a
Remake, not
place
so
in.
much.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. There's things I'm like, but we just actually this past weekend watched it because the place we stayed had a theater in the house, so we did put it on. So I'm not opposed to the sequel. It was fun. There's some nostalgia there.
Okay, sure, a little bit. They had some good stuff, but nothing beats the original. So,
No, no.
all right, another good one for you actually, as a movie guy and a cosplay guy. You're on a cross country road trip. Who is your celebrity co-pilot? Living, dead, or imaginary? For that matter, we can go with imaginary this week.
I would have to go with Sean Gunn. Out of all the people, celebrities I've ever met, he is probably the funnest actor because all he is he's extras for most part. He was Rocket. I'm taking him. He was just a fun guy to talk to, and he talked a lot. He's just kind of a down to earth, fun guy that likes to just be that background character. He's like, oh yeah, you want me to wear that suit? Sure, I'll put that on. You want me to be a small little raccoon wearing green suit? Sure, I'll do that. So like, if I'm gonna have a guy that go with me and have fun, yeah, I'm gonna go with Sean Gunn.
I totally like it. No one's picked Sean Gunn yet. I was expecting, Master Chief and a Warthog, but that's okay. Just, that would be too on the nose, we'll say.
Right.
So too on the nose. Too on the nose. But the Warthog would have been a nice end. Like, would you want to be if you were in the Warthog, would you want to be the top gunner or the side gunner? Like, that would be my or the driver for
Oh, I want Top Gunner. I want to see it
that.
all.
Do you make your bed every day?
For the most part, yes.
Okay, we'll go with the most part. How about a book everyone needs to read?
Yeah, I don't have time to really read books. That's my wife. I mean, comic
No
book
worries. Hey, listen,
wise,
I appreciate the honesty. Comic book wise, the
all right,
comic book series,
all right. If we're gonna go with a trade, or a series, The Last Ronin. It's based
very
off of
good.
the original Ninja Turtles. Three are dead, one survives, and it's his journey through
Three.
life.
There's a new movie coming out. It's with an R rating for that live
Yes,
action.
actually, it's tattooed on my arm.
Yeah, I saw that on your social media. I meant to mention that I had it written down, but a very killer tattoo of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
So a little small thing. There's a little bit of quotes that I had taken from that, and where the placement of them are on my arm, those are the last lines I read before I do any sort of event. I purposely had them put
Nice.
there so that when I look at my arm before I go out and do an event, that's what I look at because it's very like emotional but inspiring at the same time. So if you want to read a book, read that whole series.
I may just have to do that because I know my boys want to see the movie anyway. So, uh, and like something you may want to tell the media people, like, hey, look at this cool tattoo, and I read these words before I compete. Very good for media folks out there. In case you wanted to know about storytelling, could be helpful for next year.
100%.
Which one are you taking, Dave? Highways or back roads?
I'm more of a highway kind of guy.
Nice. Get where you got to get to.
Yeah, I just did back roads to get to Hocking Hills and I'm good. Twists and turns. I'm like, oh, just give me a straight shot.
How about a bucket list place to visit?
I would like to go to Ireland.
Nice. So we have a friend in Ireland too, so I'm sure it would be nice to see him over there.
Right, right. I don't, I think that would be like the one place if I could. I'm actually leaving the country for the first time at the end of April. I'm going to Canada for the first time. We're going up to see a hockey game. So, but I mean,
Nice.
probably go somewhere. I think Ireland would be like a really nice place just to get away.
So that's on my list too. Have not been there yet. All right, which one is it for you? Is it football or football?
Football.
Just 100% in. All right, last question. What is the best advice you could give to your younger self?
Uh, Study harder. Take in the knowledge because it'll pay off in the end.
I couldn't agree with you more, friend. I just wish I studied a little bit more way back in the day. It might have helped me out with a few of the things that didn't work out so well for me. So that advice is good to anyone at any time in their life, right?
Right. And being a lieutenant now, I really wish that like the things I know now, I wish I would have taken my career even a little bit more serious at the beginning. We all start our probation and we even our first couple of years, we're like, yeah, we're good. And I wish I would have just listened more and took in more.
I feel
Listen
you.
to the
I'm right
older.
there with you, man. When you become the older guy, then you realize it even more.
Unfortunately, yes.
But that's the way it goes, and we can't turn back the clock. And all we can do is just keep getting smarter, just keep getting better, just keep meeting cool people out there that do different things when they're not firefighting, aside from and strongmanning like Dave does with his cosplay. So whatever you're doing that is something you're doing outside of work, if you want to come on the show and talk about it, just like Dave did, reach out to us. I say it almost every episode. Sometimes I forget, but today has just been a great chat with you, Dave. I don't know where I'm going with all the things that I said I'm going to try to do this year and Dragon Conning and cosplaying, but I have a feeling I'll at least roll to a con somewhere near me in the near future, thanks to you. So if my wife is mad, it's your fault.
I'll take full blame.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for being on. As I say every week, thanks to everybody for listening. This is the Size Up by National Fire Radio. I'm still Pip, and what you do off the job always matters.
National Fire Radio.